What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to this tutorial where we draw this face realistically with the gradient mesh tool. This is episode 35, so if anyone is here from episode 1, congratulations, you have made it a long way. But anyway, so if you're just tuning in, or if you've been following along, last episode we were blending the color on the bottom of the lips, and now you can see that we have really smoothened out the bottom compared to the top. It almost looks so like watery, and it looks really real on the bottom. And the top could use a lot of blending. It's very sporadic on the top, but there's a lot of streakiness and sporadic detail. And you can see from this mesh, it's very complex. And the lips are seriously complex because we want to get that texture, and we want it to be, there's just a lot of detail in the lips that make it the lips. You know, there's a lots of shadows and highlights and topography, and there's, you know, it's not skin, you know, it's just so different. It's moist. There's just a lot of different properties to it. So by adding all these extra points, we're able to get a lot of that detail to show. Now, before I continue to the top of the lip, I'm going to reiterate that I'm going to draw more of these little overlay shapes. Now, if I hide the lip layer, we can see that I have tons of these little cracks in the bottom of our lip here. Then I didn't draw every single one, and I think I'm going to go back and draw a lot more of them because I think that's really important detail that we need to really emphasize. On the same note, I'm going to draw these highlights as well, all these little bubble highlights here, and I'm going to make sure I capture or try and draw even more of the highlights that are happening throughout over here, because I feel like I'm missing a lot of that lightness on the bottom of the lips, and that's really the missing thing. I think it's a little flat. We do have really nice midtones and shadow value, but we're missing a lot of that highlight value, so I'm going to go in and add that. We lost a lot of the highlight value when we blended it. Not that that's a bad thing, but I want to bring it back by overlaying shapes as opposed to going back into my mesh and adding little spots of highlight on the mesh. I just think it'll look a little better if I do overlay shapes, but that does not mean we can't go in and add some lighter color in here. But this is just the way I particularly want to do it, and this is the way I get the look that I like. So on that note, what we're going to do is we're going to hide this by hitting Control-3, and I'm going to leave this open because I want to make sure I know which one I've already drawn already. And I'm going to take my pencil tool and my pen tool, depending on the shape. Usually the more organic or round the shape is, or the faster I want to draw it, I'll use the pencil. If I'm trying to be more accurate, or if the shape is a little bit more harsh, I'll use the pen tool. So let's see what I have drawn right now. Let's go into the outline mode on this layer so I can just see the outlines of where I've drawn, and I'm going to continue using the same mentality the way I've drawn all these other shapes, and I'm going to continue drawing. So I see a shape kind of right here. See the shadow, and I'm going to start here. And I just want to follow the edges that I think I see. It doesn't have to be exactly the way I am drawing it, but I just want to kind of draw what I think is happening in the image based on what I'm provided. You know, there's only so much I see. Everything is converted to pixels. This is not like real life. You know, I'm not standing next to this person, and I'm only going off pixels. So some edges look maybe a little different than they are in real life, but that's up to us to really depict in our own way, you know? Now, if you're not sure what I'm doing right now, if you didn't watch my other lip tutorials, I'd strongly advise you go back and watch the other tutorials, because I'm really just continuing the same methods that I previously used on the other tutorials. So right now I'm just kind of speed running through this stuff a little bit because I've already shown the audience it. So I'm just going to group these guys right now before I forget, and I'm going to actually group feather and group lower the opacity of them because I want them to be a little bit more subtle. It is covering a lot of my actual smooth detail that I've drawn. So let's see what I can do here to give this more of a subtle appearance. So let's go to feather. I go into effect, stylize feather, and then let's preview. Let's try 3 pixels. It's very light, you see that? But it almost enhances what I've drawn already. But I'm gonna actually lower the opacity a little bit by maybe 50%. What happened? Let's say 50%. And now I kind of have just a slight add-on to what I've done here. Let me bring up the opacity just a little bit. Let me go to like 80. And now I kind of have enhancement to what I've already drawn smoothly with the mesh. And I think these little touch-ups, when I go through and do the rest of them, are really going to add some depth to the lips. Because I don't really have all that accurate cracks going, you know, all the little indents in her lips. I mostly have smooth surface. Over here didn't necessarily need too much enhancement because I already have a pretty good foundation over there. But it certainly did not do any harm by adding that. And let's continue adding more detail. So let's hide this again, and let's get back to drawing. Alright, so we're going to hide everything that we've already worked on here, just so I don't get confused. So this is what I'm working on right now. Those are the shapes I just drew, so I want to just, before I go too far, I want to do the feathering and the opacity of these right now. So let's see how really light I want to go on these shapes. I think the feathering, if I keep it pretty heavy, it'll look good. So let me see. It's hard to see with the image in the background, so if you hide it, you might be able to see better. But this shape on the lips is actually pretty light, so I want to keep it pretty light, but I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose the shape here. So I don't even think I can do it. 0.1 pixel maybe. 0.05 pixels. You can't even do that. All right, let me undo. See what the most amount of feathering I can do, or the least amount of feathering I can do before it destroys itself. Let's go 2 pixels. And we're gonna apply that to this one as well. Let's see the image. We're gonna apply it to these as well. These 2 shapes are pretty light. Okay. Let's take these shapes, group them. I'm gonna make these the same feather. Let me just unhide everything so I could check what I did before with these shapes. I want to match this. And so I did, what is the feather? Did a 1.5 pixel feather on those. So let's do that on this one. Effect, stylize, apply feather. 1.5 pixels, preview. Looking pretty good. Okay, let's zoom out now. Let's see what I got. I'm gonna show everything. And I think that is adding a lot more, you know, it's giving you a lot more information about the lips now. You have the smooth background, which is really playing a strong role, but these extra lines are really chopping up and showing the actual texture of the lips like the image, and without having all this streakiness at the top. So we have the smooth background, and then we add our streakiness if you want to on top. You know, it's a little easier to do that because otherwise, if you're going to do that all in mesh, it's going to take you forever to actually accurately get all that mesh shaped out like the lips. You can do it if you want to do it in one mesh and take your time, but I find this is a little bit more stylized way, and it's also faster, and it looks cool, you know, and it's fun to draw like that. I personally like drawing like that, and we're gonna continue drawing the shadows over here on this lip. So let's see. I'm gonna try and group everything now that I've done that part. It seems like I forgot about these guys over here, so let me group these and match these to what was this, 2 pixels? Yeah, 2 pixels. So let me apply a 2 pixel feather to these dudes over here. Okay, gonna do that. All right, so let's group everything together so far. We have this, and these guys. Do we have anything else? Let's move it and see. Group. So let's hide these guys, and then let's move this just so I can make sure. So I missed these shapes over here in my last group. I'm gonna add that to the group. Okay, let's hide it now. Let's hide this. Seems like we have everything. All right, so let's hide my main layer again. Okay, hide this guy as well. You know what, I'm actually gonna bring him back. I'm only gonna hide this one. I want to see what I've already done. All right, so we're gonna continue drawing. I'm gonna start with maybe this shape and this shape right here. So I think that's all I'm gonna draw for shadows on the bottom. I can go as far as maybe drawing all these little indents right here, but I don't think that's necessary. It's a little smooth, and we don't need to show like her entire lip is cracking necessarily. That isn't the goal. The goal is to get texture, but we can leave information out, you know, that we don't really necessarily want to include in the drawing. We've done it before with the, you know, the rest of the face, so it's really nothing wrong with doing that here. And I just think it'll look a little nicer if we don't do everything, you know, but most of it. All right. So I pretty much have been also grouping these as I go, so I don't really lose track of what I've drawn. But for the most part, I think I'm going to universally feather them as either 1 or 1.5 pixels. So let's see. I think I might do 1.5. Yep, gonna leave it like that. That looks awesome. I think I'm just gonna feather this one a little more. I don't know how much feather this guy's got, but let me check here. I'm gonna do 2 pixels on this. Let's see. Yeah, let's do 2 pixels. And from that, let's see what I have. I'm gonna unhide everything, show my face. I'm gonna bring this layer to the top. And that's pretty much my bottom lip. I would say I am practically done with that, except for the highlights. I just gotta do the highlights of the bottom lip. And then that is gonna be end all be all for the bottom lip. So the only thing left to do on the bottom lip, now that we have all those shadows and the blending done on the color, and it's looking really good, just saying, is the highlights. Now once we add the little highlight speculars and feather them and add opacity and just make sure they're looking pretty nice. So after we do the little highlights, then we can go tackle the upper lip. We're gonna start with the upper right lip in this section over here. Oop. And this section over here, and then once we finish that area, we can work our way into the more complex area of the lips. Let me just show you where it's got all this jaggedness. I'm going to draw a lot of those lines with the pen tool like I just did on the bottom layer, but we're still going to have to blend that shading from left to right. And you know, it might even be easier, instead of drawing the jaggedness shadows, it might be easier if we just draw all the little highlight bubbles with the pen tool, like let's say like this. Hold on, let's say like, you know, draw little like circles and stuff like that. That might be a better route, but let's get to that when we get to that. one step at a time. Yeah, so we're just going to continue doing the little highlights on the bottom lip now. So we're just going to make sure this is hidden because I can't see. Bring back this layer. So with my pencil tool, because these are circular and round and organic shapes, I'm just going to, on every shape that I didn't really draw and feel like there's a highlight, I'm going to just make a little circle or like a little organic shape, simply like this. So this little circle, I'm just going to do a little shape like that. And I'm just going to go all around the face really quickly and just kind of put little dots where I think little highlights could be. And I'm just going to do these little bean shape highlights here. Just like that. Just want to make sure my shapes are being closed. Because sometimes if you don't close the shape, you know, the pencil tool will leave a hole. And we're just going to go around the face and just fill in all these highlights eventually. Let me just draw them all out first, and then we're going to go fill them in with pretty much the same tone. And then we'll do a universal feather and opacity to them. And then hopefully the bottom lip, it will be looking a-okay. Just going to group what I have so far. Alright, so now that we drew all the little highlights I want to include, and then they're all grouped, now what I can do is I can just group feather them, and let's see what the right amount of feather is going to be. Probably maybe like 1.5 pixels. I think I need some more than that. I like 2 pixels. Let's go back to 2. Alright, let me just now lower some opacity. I think if we do 75% opacity, now let's leave it at 100%, but let's just lower the really bright ones. Let's bring these down to 50. Alright, that's looking much better. Alright, so that is my bottom lip pretty much. If you ask me, I think it looks pretty awesome towards the bottom. Very big contrast difference from the bottom to the top, and you could really see how, I would say I put about 3 to 3.5 hours of work just in cleaning up and adding shapes to the bottom lip alone. That's not even including making the mesh and filling in the original color. The lips is turning out to be a major process, and if it's not a major process on your part, you're probably not going to capture and create the, you know, close enough detail to what the picture looks like. The idea of this tutorial is to be as close to the picture as possible so we can be extremely realistic, and I can teach everybody how to draw to the utmost realism. And if you're not putting in these hours into the lips where there's a lot of detail and a lot of meticulous work needs to be had, then I'm just worried that it might not look as good. And to each their own, but I'm really just trying to get the point across that in order to make it look like this, you really just need to put in the clicks and the hours and the work. And that's why I thank so much to anyone who has made it to this point so far. And being that I'm saying this, I think I'm going to close out this episode right here. And I know the last couple episodes have been a lot of just fast-forwarded cleanup work and just basic drawing that you may not need to watch, you know, an episode for, but to each their own as well, again, because someone might need to just see everything, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to just show the entire process. So you can skip around the episodes, draw what you want to draw when you want to draw it. That's why I put this stuff on the internet. And I really appreciate anyone who is sticking around to watch this and learn this complicated but fun technique in Adobe Illustrator. My name is Mark DiMattei, and you can find me on Instagram at markdarts. That's MARKD_ARTS. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, these videos. Respond to me, comment to me. I will get back, and I will happily work with you if you have any problems. Or if you have feedback for me for my channel and my videos and my performance, please let me know. I would love to hear it. And I'm open for everybody here. So I'll see you guys on the next episode, episode 36 coming up to you. We're going to start blending the color of the top lip, and we're going to work our way down and hopefully finish these lips soon, because we've been doing it for so long. I've been doing it almost like all day today, just this day alone, because this is a multi-day thing that I'm recording here. But anyway, see you guys on the next one.